All right, good morning, guys, and welcome back to Mark Anthony's Music Picks. Today I'm on episode 90, and as promised, this will be part 3 of 3 of the Tony Draper and Exit Fridays compilation that I've been making here. I think compilation is a good word for it. As a side note, because of I was almost taken off guard by how well this episode or concept has taken off. I got a lot of comments, a lot of people replying down below, reminiscing about tracks and trying to figure out track IDs. That's what this channel is all about for me. Like I want to interact with you guys and learn about new music, rediscover old music, maybe figure out a few IDs that have always been bugging me that I always wanted the name for and just never got. So I really appreciate that. I don't have a ton more to say about the venue and the parties. Like I feel like I covered that in the first two. And in this one, I'm just going to focus on some of the tracks. I still have 6 more tracks that I want to cover for you that were just hammered at Exit and that will really take you guys down memory lane. And speaking of memory lane, I've been totally going off the deep end in terms of buying these hard trance records that are available now on Discogs. A lot of this stuff from this 2000 to 2002 era, I think it's really fun music. I mean, you can definitely tell that it's in like a little time capsule for that time period, but like somebody said in the comments, there's a lot of charm and a lot of uniqueness to these tracks that makes them really stand out. And I'm basically going on Discogs and buying these tracks from American sellers for $3 or $4 a pop and just going hog wild, and I'm having a ton of fun with it. So I guess that's the whole point of the channel, and I'm really glad to have you guys along for the ride with me. But anyways, let's get into some of the tracks. So in the previous 2 episodes for the Draper at Fridays concept, I've been mainly focusing on some of the harder tracks, and I'm going to bring some of those in this episode. But there were also vocals that were mixed in with that. Concurrently, as Tony Draper was doing his thing at Exit on Fridays, Jonathan Peters was doing his thing over at Sound Factory on Saturdays / Sunday morning / Sunday evening / Monday morning. And Jonathan was known for the vocals. So there were a lot of vocals going around at the time. And mostly those vocals would be in the 130 to 132 range, which made them accessible from a DJing standpoint. You can pitch a vocal up maybe 2.5%, not destroy the original pitch or tone that was intended of the vocal. And then if you have some hard trance that starts around 135, maybe you pitch that down a little bit, and now you can sort of mix the vocals into these harder sets and not have it be jarring, right? You just had to be probably strategic about when you drop them, but you could mix vocals in. So Draper did that, and one of the biggest vocals that was played at Exit, and that really brought the girls there. I mean, Exit had a lot of girls. That was one of the reasons that I used to go there back in the day, was to like meet girls, and there were tons of them. And the vocals were kind of like the draw for the girls. Like the dudes wanted to just hammer it out and like I said, do the the Nordic track crazy dance moves, but the girls weren't doing that. That was the dude thing. But the girls were there for the vocals, and one of the vocals that was absolutely adored there amongst me and some of the other fans was this one here. Digital Allies featuring Rich Lucy, Without You. You guys remember Rich Lucy had a couple of singles. He had this one and one that sort of followed it but didn't really resonate as well. Without You was basically his one-hit wonder. He had that raspy voice, and he was just like so New Jersey that it hurt. Like basically, Without You was like the club version of like Living on a Prayer. Like how Living on a Prayer was just like, if you go out to a Jersey bar and it gets to be 1 a.m. and there's a band or there's a cover band, they're playing Living on a Prayer, right? Without You was like that expected from the crowd. And Eddie Baez came in, I think, in his prime and put like a very big synthy retouch on this. It's the Baez and Kano main mix, and I remember hearing this at the club, and I just absolutely love this at Exit Fridays.
If I could relive my life, I know what I would change. All the times I made you cry, all my faults that caused you pain. I know I'm sorry, it's not big enough to tell you how wrong I've been, but I don't know
My next pick for you, switching back to the hard trance concept that Draper was known for. This track that I'm about to show you was about probably like a 3 a.m. drop that Draper would have done. I remember this being mixed into the Moon's Sushi. I don't have Sushi on vinyl. I'm definitely gonna get Sushi because I feel like that was like the little cousin to Blow the Speakers, and it was pretty cool in its own right. Here we've got the New Frontier and their track called Musica que Domina. I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% on this, and you guys, if you guys want to nerd out with me, you can get super nerdy. I think Draper was playing the TRC version, which is very similar to the Domina version on the A1, except for it does not have the male vocal in the deep voice saying Musica que Domina, right? I don't think Draper played the one with the vocal, but maybe I'm wrong. Either way, this was a hot single back then, and the Domina version is maybe 30 or 40 seconds longer, but is very similar to this TRC version. It's not like a remix. It's the same sounds, just arranged slightly different in my opinion. I remember how like deep and grinding and mechanical this track felt, and on that exit sound system, when those speakers hit, like I said, it had tons of punch. This track would really just like, it was like a home run at peak hour. And kind of tying this into, like, I was in college when this came out, and I remember I was sitting at home on college break, and I had my Altec Lansing computer speakers. If you guys remember, that was kind of like if you had like computer speakers, you got the Altec Lansings that had two little tweeter towers that were about the size of a laptop, and then it came with a subwoofer that was surprisingly powerful. And I remember I hammered on those computer speakers, like it hit hard. And it hit so hard that it would piss my parents off at home. So whenever I would play this, my dad would come and stand in the doorway of my bedroom and start doing like this like Weekend at Bernie's like crazy dead guy dance. And he would just say, I don't know how you listen to that crap. And it made me think as a kid, like, I'm really onto something here, because if my parents hate this music must be awesome.
Musica elettronica, musica che domina, musica elettronica, musica che domina. Musica che domina.
Next track for you is a classic that was played a lot in the Philly scene and also hammered up in New York, and it's by somebody that I haven't talked about at all on this channel, Mike Macaluso. Here is his perennial final chapter. I mean, this came out in, I believe, 2000, 2001, and it was played for years afterwards as like a signature peak time track. Everybody knew it for those dark chimey bells that came in. I would hear this at Shampoo when I went to Lifted Sundays back in the day, and I was never really that impressed with it. It didn't resonate with me. I didn't hate it. I was just like, oh, cool, final chapter's coming in, whatever. But it wasn't something that I would run to the dance floor for. Now, fast forward a year or two, when I first heard it at Exit, and it totally changed the context for me because Exit had those big stacks in the corner. When this track first starts hitting, it's almost like the intro to this before it gets overly complex is my favorite part. I love when it's just the kick and the bells and it starts to wind up in the beginning. And I specifically remember standing on the dance floor at Exit and just feeling the power of that kick coming through those massive stacks and finally like getting it. Like I finally felt like I heard it in the right context. It just felt like this track is totally badass, and it's like, now I understand.
It's coming. The final chapter.
Another peak hour stormer for you guys that I wanna talk about or rewind back to is by a relatively kind of obscure artist. He was in the scene for, I think, releasing records for 2, maybe 3 years tops, and he's a Philly guy. Do you guys remember MacGyver? Do you remember MacGyver? He was like a Philly local that made hard trance, and I think he was like fundamentally a musician. I have this vague memory of running into him at Emerald City at some point in 2004 or 2005 on a random Friday or Saturday night. I feel like I had a conversation with him, but I'm not sure if I did. I'm pretty sure I met him and he was cool, but it was kind of hazy because I used to get really drunk when I would go to Emerald City, so all bets are off. But I'm like 90% confident that this actually really happened. And I remember if it's either that or I was in a dream sequence and I'm just like forgetting, but I remember him as being a cool guy. And he dropped, he had 2 main tracks that MacGyver was known for. He had Is Calling, which was dropped at Exit during peak hour. And he also had Do You F As Well As You Dance. And you guys remember that track. The track that I liked better out of the 2 was Is Calling. This really tapped into like my primal spirit at Exit. I would look forward to it, and Draper would play it pretty reliably, I think in the 3 to 4 a.m. time slot. And I remember having a moment at Exit where I was in a dance circle, like I said, doing the classic Nordic track move, getting all the energy out of my system. And then when I finished and the track went into a breakdown, I remember like walking around the circle and just high-fiving like 5 strangers, and everybody was really getting along well. So Tony, thank you for that memory. Like I said, guys, Exit was known for getting people fired up, and the hard trance tracks were the vehicle that got people there at Exit. And this track here was probably my favorite that I would listen to in the car. I had Exit CDs that I had made with CDRs and tracks that I had downloaded from Napster, and this one here was one of the ones that I had absolutely destroyed in the car. I would listen to it on the way to work, on the way back from work back in the day, and it was just the perfect hard trance expression of just like absolute mayhem. This is Trance Generators, Rock to the Beat, and I did get to hear this at Exit a couple of times. It had the grindy, waily synth in it, some super deep bass digs, and I just remember those bass digs, like during the breakdowns, it would just go ba-boom. It had like a double clutch and it would hit. And I just remember that power coming through my chest, and all types of chaos would break out when Rock to the Beat came in. My last pick for you from this episode, guys, kind of has an interesting or funny Exit story attached to it. This is Joy Kitakani's Joy Energizer. You guys remember this? I'm sure you remember this. If you just heard 3 seconds of the breakdown of this track, I used to call it the zipper track. It sounded like a zipper getting zipped up, like zip, 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 right? It kind of had this like little pitch up effect on it. I never heard this track before I went to Exit, and I specifically remember where I was standing when the zip zips came in. I was outside of the bathroom. I think it was on the 2nd or 3rd floor. When you came into the club, if you made a right, you would go over either on the 2nd or 3rd floor, and the bathrooms were like these silver metallic doors. I think there was only maybe 3 or 4 of them, and there was always a line. And I remember I was all the way up to the front of the line. I had waited about 10 minutes, and this track started playing in the background, and I was like, man, this track is absolutely nuts. It's crazy because it goes from the odd, unique novelty of the zip sounds, and then it transitions into this like super fun, warm, kind of energetic, almost like workout type vibe. It's weird how the track changes from one vibe to the next. But it pulls it off well. It's very interesting. Like, I didn't really like to like sit and listen to this by myself, but in the context of Exit, like it just sort of brought out like this like weirdness to the venue that not a lot of the other tracks had. And so anyways, while I was standing in the bathroom line, kind of like observing this track and taking it all in, I noticed that the line wasn't moving anymore. And the stall that I was like designated to go into next, I was like, what the hell is this guy doing in there? I didn't see who went in before me. And it was this guy and his girlfriend, and they basically like come out of the stall together, and I was like, oh, I know what you guys are doing in there. And they basically, I didn't say anything, but like they basically just like walked out like nothing had happened, and the guy just had this like smug look on his face, and in like classic New York fashion, he didn't acknowledge anything or that he'd like effed up the bathroom line for 15 minutes. It was like this totally selfish thing, and I was like, only in New York could somebody be that rude and just leave everybody hanging and not give a shit. All right, guys, that's all for the Tony Draper at Exit series. I hope this successfully took you back down memory lane. Please comment down below with any other tracks that this is making you think of. I'm like all on this kick, trying to like dig up all the old tracks and revive some of those memories. I hope you enjoyed this and take care. Peace.
Don't be afraid of what the future brings. This is only the start of the trance revolution. So let the music take you. Let the revolution begin now. Let the music take you. This is only the start of the trance revolution. So let the music take you. So let the music take you. Do not be afraid of what the future brings. This is only the start of the trance revolution. So let the music take you. Let the revolution begin now. Start of the trance revolution.